Homeless in Fargo was a big topic of discussion at the Fargo City Commission meeting tonight. Still, folks camping along the river in dangerously cold weather. Fargo City Commissioner Michelle Turnberg put forth a proposal called Operation Safe Fargo, which would in part give people the opportunity to be bused back to their homes. This proposal was shot down by the commission in the end, but it brought forth a wide-ranging conversation on the problem of homelessness, which the city says they do have a comprehensive plan coming, which they'll introduce on December 23rd. Here's Commissioner Turnberg and responses from the public and other commissioners following that proposal.
Mr. Chair, I will say this is a very thoughtful and thorough recommendation I have, having worked with a homeless vet together on this, who gave me a Bible and a copy of the Constitution. So there has been a lot of thought that's gone into it, from helping me learn from another perspective. So what this is, and I call it Operation Safe Fargo, so we can be safe, both the residents and the homeless, to ensure the safety and well-being of all residents and individuals experiencing homelessness in Fargo. This plan establishes immediate measures for emergency shelter, enhanced public safety, and long-term solutions to address homelessness and related challenges to the community. Now, the city has been working tirelessly to try and follow our recommendations for implementing our resolutions that we made to the ordinance, which I just do not think are working. I think they're very confusing to people, and we don't even have a map that we can offer people of where housing is allowed. So what this would do would immediately remove the resolutions and ban camping in Fargo. Just like Moorhead, who doesn't have this issue at all, then we would ban camping. We've already spent over $17,000 in cleanup from moving these camps. Transportation assistance. I've been working with the police department in Palm Springs, California, and learning from how they deal with their homeless issue. A resident of Fargo who also lives there brought to my attention how the police department works with their homeless issues that they have. And much like Fargo, Palm Springs has weather issues. In the summer, it can get to be 120 degrees. And so it's dangerous for people to be outside there as well. So what they do is, when every officer is given a credit card that comes from a fund, and if they arrest someone for an infraction and see that they're from out of town, because they have a correctional facility there, and when people are let out, they sometimes have no ability to get to where they want to go. So the officer can say, you can go to jail for this infraction, or you can go home. And many times the people want to go home. Just the other day, he told me that he was dealing with someone that morning, and he'd been trying to get home for 3 months and didn't have the means to do so. And so took the city up on their offer and was able to get back home. So it's not like a lot of people in here, I'm sure, go to warm weather in the winter and get out of Fargo and get out of these elements. I can't imagine anyone chooses and wants to camp in Fargo in the winter. So let's help these people, if they want to get out, to give them the assistance to do that. We would come up with an emergency shelter. I'm not sold on the Civic. That was just one idea. I have Dr. Andrew Hennessy in the audience, who has given all the commissioners his proposal, and he's come up with some great ideas of insulated tents that would be secure and guarded and have security, heated, so people are not out in the elements. This would be a substance-free environment, again, Operation Safe Fargo, so the people who are utilizing the shelter that the city is providing would be safe and not have drugs or alcohol or people under the influence permitted to use these. The Fargo Police Department would screen the people to make sure there are no outstanding warrants or no level 1 sex offenders, because we do have homeless level 1 sex offenders in the city, and they would not be allowed in the shelter. The shelter would feature cots so people could sleep, unlike the winter warming that we have now where people are sitting up, and that way they can rest comfortably. It would be pet friendly, so anyone with a pet, if they would have a crate, the pets would have to be leashed or crated at all times. But I feel it's absolutely, and this gentleman that I worked with told me how absolutely important it is for people who have pets to not be separated from them. We would have security at this facility, and this would be done May 1st. So this gives the city the ability to get our act together, to get housing proposals, to get Housing First enacted and get people in housing. And then May 1st, there's no more camping on public property. People who choose to live that lifestyle would have to go to the campground or go elsewhere, because the city of Fargo would no longer allow that. The relocation of existing resources, so the funds that are doing the winter warming, which I believe we have left over from COVID, would be moved to this new shelter. Again, it could be, Dr. Andrew Hennessy suggested perhaps in the parking lot near Island Park. It could be in the industrial area. Again, I just came up with the Civic. I'm not sold on that. I know some business owners don't like that idea, but I feel if we have insulated warm tents and cots, that would be a good solution. After May 1st, then the Downtown Engagement Center services would be moved to Cass County Public Health. We would take that building and sell it. That way we can also sell the building across the street, use those funds to pay for this, and then put the remaining of the funds into the general fund. And I believe that's all I have, but it's an idea to not only protect residents who have come to these meetings over and over and spoken how they feel afraid, have been just felt intimidated. We have homeless people who are not safe that are out in the elements. I've reached out to the governor for emergency funds. The governor has gotten back to me, and we are working on that. And I just do not believe that we can keep letting illegal drug users dictate our city policy. Let's use those funds that we're getting from the opioid settlement and use that for treatment and helping people who are addicted. Let's get them help. So I would call out to friends and families and charities that, because if you're addicted, you would not be allowed into the safe shelter, to reach out to them. The city does not have an endless pot of money. We can't keep spending money on just moving these camps back and forth and paying for this. So let's take some action. Let's follow what's working in some other cities. Let's get people to other cities, their hometowns, to where they want to be, and help solve this problem.
Do I have a motion?
Approve.
No, you just have to say, I make the motion.
I'll make the motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Further discussion?
So, Mr. Chair, I just have a couple things, if that's okay. First of all, I think the key thing is we have to move all these services out of the downtown. That's the first priority. That's why I don't necessarily agree with all the proposals, because the Civic Center, I don't believe that's appropriate. I think all these services, we need to find a new place for them, but the downtown is unacceptable. So that's I got, not to disagree, but I just think that isn't appropriate. There's some of these things that are great things, but the other thing is, this kind of goes back to what we were just talking about, the refugee issue. The city of Fargo can't be the sponsor. We need to collaborate, but there's lots of entities that need to participate. And we can't afford to be the main sponsor any longer. And so that's what I would suggest, that we look at how can we collaborate with all the other entities. I guess that's just the comment that I want to leave as kind of as an open comment. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Before I go back to commission discussion, we have some public speakers, which I have to invite at this time. Asher Lorenzen would be first.
Hi, I'm Asher Lorenzen. You were given a Bible, and I'd appreciate if you open it up before using it as a prop to show around the building. Greetings, City Commissioners. I put on my nice suit today because it seems that some of you only care about the people of Fargo that have money. Maybe if I looked more like them, then you'd care. I'm an active member in this community, and all this Operation Safe Fargo is bullshit. We all know it's bullshit. You keep trying to go back on what the commission has already decided in order to make the people of this city suffer.
So, Mr. Chair, can I just say, obviously you can't use inappropriate language. So I
Asher,
don't.
just have you watch your language, please. Two commissioners are upset.
Yeah. I am upset with the two commissioners, too. You keep trying to go back on what the commission has already decided in order to make the people of this city suffer. I'm going to quote you for a second. You write, and I quote, "Though not a perfect solution, Operation Safe Fargo prioritizes immediate safety and lays the groundwork for more sustainable interventions to address homelessness in our community." This is a lie, and we all know it. What Operation Safe Fargo does is it defunds the winter warming program. Not only does it defund the winter warming program, it also sells off the Downtown Engagement Center. Not only does it defund the winter warming program and sell off the Downtown Engagement Center, it also destroys all camps that people establish to protect themselves in the winter. Not only does it defund the winter warming program, sell off the Downtown Engagement Center, destroy the camps people establish to protect themselves in the winter, it also requires anyone seeking shelter from the deadly winter to go through ID checkpoints and sobriety checkpoints. Have you ever tried to get an ID on a day's notice after all your belongings have been destroyed? Are the homeless supposed to die in the time between their belongings and encampments destroyed and the weeks it can take to get an ID so they can enter the Civic Center? If that happened to me, I'd throw a brick through the City Hall window so I can at least get 2 hots and a cot. If it's between that or freezing to death, I know what I would do. You're doing everything in your power to kill the people of Fargo, and you throw a fit whenever anyone calls you out, including both citizens and staff. Now, if you'd like a bus ticket, I can pay for one for you to leave the city. Thank you.
Allison Slavic. No clapping, please.
Hello, Allison Slavic, resident of Fargo. I strongly oppose this proposal. It endangers our unhoused residents by undermining the camping resolution that was passed a few months ago, and replacing the successful winter warming center with a high barrier shelter would be a step in the wrong direction. A 2020 study in the Journal of Urban Health found that low barrier shelters significantly reduce emergency department visits and arrests among individuals expressing homelessness. A 2021 report by the National Alliance to End Homelessness emphasized that these shelters increase access to vital services such as substance abuse treatment and mental health care. Conversely, imposing sobriety requirements exacerbates stigma, drives individuals away from seeking help, and prolongs cycles of homelessness. Inclusive shelters that accept all individuals open the door to meaningful engagement with caseworkers and provide pathways to rehabilitation and housing programs. Denying shelter based on sobriety requirements also conflicts with the United Nations Declaration of Human Rights, which asserts that access to shelter is a fundamental human right. Studies have shown that inclusive policies help individuals stabilize their lives, reducing the duration and recurrence of homelessness. Moreover, providing shelter for those under the influence not only helps them, but also improves community safety by reducing the number of people on the streets. I must also address the ongoing disdain for the Downtown Engagement Center and the essential work they do for our community. The DEC partners with the Great Plains Food Bank to offer free meals and collaborates with the Family Health Care to operate the Homeless Health Clinic 5 days a week. They provide a safe space for individuals to store belongings and take refuge from extreme weather conditions, all while connecting them with essential services that can help rebuild their lives. The DEC's efforts are truly vital to the well-being of our community. Transitioning its services to the Cass County Public Health would take away the essential amenities they currently provide. Furthermore, why should the DEC building be converted into another police substation when there's already one located just 2 blocks away? In conclusion, what the city truly needs and what experts have consistently advocated for is a housing first approach. Affordable housing options are essential to help our neighbors regain stability and rebuild their lives. Research, data, and success stories from other cities demonstrate the effectiveness of housing first. I urge our commissioners to request an update on the housing first plan that was approved 4 months ago, as this is where we will see meaningful progress and positive change.
Chandler Eislinger.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. My name is Chandler Esslinger. I'm a Fargo resident, and I am also the new Executive Director for the Fargo-Moorhead Coalition to End Homelessness. I'm here tonight to express gratitude to both City Commission and our community members for the continued focus on homelessness in our region and a commitment to identifying and implementing solutions that improve the lives of everyone in our community. I am sympathetic to the circumstances our city leadership finds themselves in, with mounting public pressure to take decisive action and the visibility of the urgent humanitarian crisis of homelessness in Fargo-Moorhead becoming ever more pronounced. Communities across the nation are facing many of the same challenges we have here, which can lead well-intentioned leaders to make hurried decisions that attempt to disappear homelessness without a plan for systematic and sustained reductions in the overall rate of homelessness. For these reasons, I'm here tonight to provide a formal invitation to our city commissioners and city staff to work alongside the Fargo-Moorhead Coalition to End Homelessness and our membership of more than 70 organizations representing the homelessness response system in our metro area to collaborate on a comprehensive plan to address our shared community concerns and deliver on our ultimate goal of making homelessness rare, brief, and one time. Since my first day at the coalition 1 week ago, I've been engaging directly with the homelessness response system and our partners to build consensus on the short-term needs of our system to ensure appropriate winter warming and shelter options are present, and the long-term investments required to ensure adequate housing options are available to make systematic reductions in the rate of homelessness in our community. Addressing homelessness in Fargo-Moorhead requires 3 components. Number 1, minimize the inflow into homelessness whenever possible. Number 2, ensure adequate emergency shelter and crisis stabilization services are available to meet demand. And number 3, to maximize outflow into permanent housing and to end an individual's or family's homelessness. The FM Coalition to End Homelessness and our partners are working quickly and collaboratively to propose a comprehensive community plan that will address both the public's concerns around homelessness and the urgent humanitarian crisis facing us. We respectfully request you do not pass Operation Safe Fargo and allow the coalition and our partners to return at the next City Commission meeting to propose our evidence-based best practice solution to this growing community concern. Thank you.
Matt Osborne.
Yes, my name is Matt Osborne. I'm a condo owner downtown. I'm going to quote Charles Dickens here, the author of A Christmas Carol, once wrote, "My advice is to never do tomorrow what you can do today. Procrastination is the thief of time." He also said, "The most important thing in life is to stop saying, 'I wish,' and start saying, 'I will.'" Think of it. Wouldn't it be great if instead of sitting around and quarreling at each other at these meetings about the homeless situation, that we actually acted on something that could really help all people of downtown Fargo in this region? Regarding this measure before you, it is a start to get people off the river, but you have to incorporate quickly some solution that deals with the real problems, which are mental illness and drug addiction, along with getting state funding for affordable housing, and start this process now, before this temporary measure runs its course. I don't know how you do that, only to say you must start immediately having impactful, and I mean impactful meetings with business leaders, state leaders, and the governor to determine an action plan on real solutions. We as a state have the money to do something, so let's get it allocated to Fargo. I think you and we can accomplish this. Why? Because we know how to come together when there is a disaster. Look back at the major floods that attacked this region. We went into prevention mode. It didn't matter who you were, poor, middle class, rich, young, old, it didn't matter. And it doesn't matter now. We all came together and we can come together again. Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, I ask to pass something, maybe this measure, to get people off the river. But as I mentioned, you must immediately act on a separate measure to deal with drug addiction and the affordable housing problems. Also, look at cities that have done a great job at managing this. Model after them. And lastly, in the spirit of this season, I want you to promise, and us as citizens of Fargo Moorhead, to promise that we begin to continue this process of peace, not hate.
Cheryl Bergen.
Hello, and thank you for this opportunity. I'm Cheryl Bergen. I'm a resident of Fargo. I'm also a grateful member of NARNAN, 12-step program for families and friends of addicts. I see some assumptions in Operation Safe Fargo that doesn't match my experience with a family member who is an addict, who has been homeless in Fargo. I ask that this commission, if they are going to move forward with proposals to address substance abuse addiction or alcoholism, meet with those of us who know what it's like to try to provide barriers to those who are addicts. It's been my experience that the only thing that my family member has been able to do to stop using has come from within himself. And as long as he has provided support, housing, there is hope. He was using most of the month of October. He has been an addict for at least 10 years. I don't believe he used today. I don't know if he will use tomorrow. But I can assure you that providing housing first, supportive housing in an environment, is the only way to move forward. I also suggest that the City Commission provide its requirements for addressing the commission at the beginning of the agenda, not the end, and at the homepage of the Fargo Commission on its website. Because you'll get to see me again during the other public comment, because I was here at the last commission meeting but didn't know I had to sign up ahead of time. So you got me twice. Thank you.
Doug Charbonneau.
Good evening, Mayor Mahoney and Fargo City Commissioners. I am Doug Charbonneau, speaking in support of Operation Safe Fargo. Why do we need Operation Safe Fargo? It's safety. It is unsafe for chemically dependent homeless to be living outside in a North Dakota winter. Decades of poor policy have drawn the homeless population to Fargo. It is becoming unsustainable for our tax base to support efforts of housing. It is dangerous for the homeless to be outdoors in winter. We have been placed between a rock and a hard place due to bad policy. Despite taxpayers dumping more and more resources into the problem worsens. The public policy experiments of needle exchanges, housing the chemically addicted, and aid have been an abject failure. In a time when small Fargo businesses are closing on a daily basis, the primary responsibilities of government have not been providing the needed services of law enforcement. When businesses are seeking assistance from government for law enforcement, the suggestion from the city to fight crime is for businesses to install a porta potty outside their business. This is not a serious solution. Crime is the number one issue caused by the strong influx of homeless into Fargo. I have two personal examples to share. My own family experienced felony levels crimes committed against us twice within a year's time by homeless people. Law enforcement was too exhausted to properly investigate and properly report on these crimes. Fargo's bad policy on the homeless is consuming a significant share of law enforcement resources. It is not the fault of rank and file law enforcement. They are doing the best they can. It is bad policy of the commission. Fargo Police Administration can put on a brave face saying that they have this covered and crime levels are not so bad. No, they do not have this covered. Law enforcement needs the City Commission's help. The City Commission cannot continue to attract homeless from other cities. Thank you.
Angie Fichtner, Cap.
First, where's the timer? So I can watch the timer. Thank you. I tend to go long. So my name is Angie Fichtner Knapp, and I've been a North Dakota resident all my life, but I also winter in Palm Springs. And we've had a condo there for 15 years, and I'm the one who met with Michelle ahead of time. I sit on a board that oversees 1,800 homes, 13 neighborhoods that reports into the Office of Neighborhoods for the City of Palm Springs. When we talked about doing something that works someplace, Palm Springs has multi-levels that they're doing. The part that Michelle has been introduced to is sort of just the ground floor level. There are different steps along the way. There are different things being added all the time. There's navigation centers. There are places now where people who show promise and need help get to a certain level. Some people get to a certain housing level, and some people will have apartments and so forth, and their housing goes along with everything. But you have to start someplace. You can't do all of that overnight. You have to start someplace. As a person who's had addiction issues, not myself, but in my family and extended family, along with homelessness, I understand the mental health aspect of it and how this entire country has failed people with mental health issues. And mainly homeless is mental health issues. It's people who are the working poor, and some of them with children that cannot be sitting in a tent city under the bridge over the winter and freezing to death. And you have to protect people. And the third element are criminals who are on the run. And you have all three, and they're camping out together in the freeze under the bridge. That's untenable from a human rights standpoint, in my opinion. This is the beginning. And the thing that we found in Palm Springs is that 80% of these people were not from that community. So they offered to put them on a bus if they wanted to. Very disappointing that the form would lead to the headline, Turnberg wants to bus the homeless out of Fargo. Completely false if you read her report, and completely false as to what Palm Springs does it well. It's an offer. There are people who want to get home that can't get home. And they don't have to go, but it's voluntarily. And it's getting to be Christmas time. There's a lot of families waiting for their loved ones to come home. Thank you.
Rocky Schneider.
Good evening. I'm Rocky Schneider with the Downtown Community Partnership. So I want to start by saying thank you for showing the video of the Holiday Lights Parade. It's a great event. 15,000 people showed up, and a lot of you, I'm not sure which one of you was the Grinch costume, but thanks for making it part of the parade. I'm here today to talk about the Project Safe, and I want to start by thanking Commissioner Turnberg for bringing this forward, because I've watched a lot of these meetings. I am happy we're talking about solutions and not just talking about the problem or identifying or defining the problem. I think that's a big step. I've also am a bike rider, so someone joked how I was going to incorporate biking into this, but I also believe that you need all the spokes to work on a wheel before the wheel will turn for very long. And this proposal, while it has a lot of good things and is moving forward quickly, which I think are all things we want as a downtown entity, I don't think all the spokes are quite equal to each other yet in this, and it's not quite ready yet. And so I guess I would encourage the city to, and city staff to take this back and incorporate this into what they're working on elsewhere as well, because I know there's 5 of you that can all talk to each other all the time, and each of you are working on different parts of it. And so I'd encourage you each to kind of take where your expertise is and use staff's expertise and the community's expertise to try to, balance out those spokes in the wheel, because I think we're close if we're talking about solutions, and that's a really good step. And I know it's really easy on this to be negative and throw darts at things, but it also is really tough to propose a solution. And so I commend you on that and bringing that forward, because I do think we need to act and act soon, not just because of the weather or the environment downtown, or to help those suffering from homelessness. And so I think it's for all the above reasons we need to move quickly. And so, but I also don't think you just want to move quickly to move quickly. And so I appreciate you bringing this forward, because it continues to move that conversation forward, and it's very much needed in our community. And I think all of the comments here, if you could look the vein across all of them, I think there's an agreement that we all want to try to address this issue. And so I think that's the real positive from this, is that we're all here because we want to address homelessness. And that's a very positive thing. We're not arguing if we should or shouldn't address it. And so I think it's about working with the experts and your staff to figure out how can we do this in a cost-effective way, but also in a way that will help those experiencing homelessness. So anyways, thank you for all your work and your time. Appreciate it.
Denise Vanderbush.
Good evening. Thank you for allowing me to speak today. My name is Denise Vanderbush. I am the president of the board of Open Doors 65. We are a free thrift store that supplies clothing and other things for the homeless and the economically disadvantaged. We do hear a lot of stories from those who are homeless, and this program that you have proposed for the homeless sounds kind of something that would work for some, but it's not a one size fits all. And the stories that I hear, there are a lot, and I would love to see some of these, especially the younger ones, go home. I've asked them, have you talked to your mom when they come in? Because being a mom, I would cry if I knew that my child was out on the streets like that. And some have said they can't go home. There's sexual abuse, there's physical abuse, there's all kinds of reasons why they can't go home. And others, they really truly do want to go home. And some of them I wouldn't want to send back home. And if we could help some go home, but there are others that they truly can't go home. And we do need to find an alternate solution for those. And there are some that they don't want to go home. There are some that want to stay camping. If we could find a solution where we could allow them to stay camping, or we could find a place for them to be, if we could open up another homeless shelter or another place for them to be at. There are some that are chronically homeless because they choose to be homeless. They are mental illness. Their mental illness causes them to need to be homeless. I've known people that can't live inside. They're your war veterans, your PTSD veterans. Being inside is hard for them. It hurts them. They're physically unable to be inside. I invite you, each of you, to come spend a day with us while we're open at Open Doors. Spend time talking with these people. We've got the same people that will come in every time we're open. They love to spend time with us, listen to their stories. They're good people. The stories you hear, they will change your heart and how you feel about this. Please come spend time with us. I'd love to have you there. Thank you.
Virtually, we have Olivia Fisher on. Olivia, are you there?
Yep, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi, my name is Olivia, and I'm a frustrated Fargo resident. First off, I'd like to point out what a huge waste of time this is, considering it was just months ago that the camping resolution passed. That resolution follows best practice and acknowledges the proven fact that camping bans will not solve the homelessness crisis. I ask you all to acknowledge that again before voting today. In the call to action for this plan, it says that Operation Safe Fargo prioritizes immediate safety and lays the groundwork for more sustainable interventions to address homelessness in our community. This is unfortunately not true, because we have seen that the removal of camps involves bulldozers and zero compassionate. This is not safe nor sustainable. The proposal to move the deck services to the Cass County Public Health Building disregards the fact that this will force a large majority of our unhoused neighbors to have to walk an hour instead of a few minutes to get a meal each day. With the rest of our shelters being full, the deck has been supporting many people every day that would otherwise have no access to these resources. There needs to be a space dedicated for folks to come and warm up or cool off for a bit and receive a meal. The deck even has lockers for folks to store their belongings while they are at interviews. Will you be allocating funds for accommodations like this? Opening up space in the Civic Center is great in terms of providing a larger warm space at night, but folks need and deserve more than that. Also, the offer to provide bus tickets is a nice accommodation for folks who need it, but this cannot be the only option for people who can't access a shelter at night. Folks who are intoxicated should not have to be sent off to a different city if they're not going to be allowed at the Civic Center. I have heard some of you complain about other cities supposedly doing the same exact thing, so your hypocrisy will be on full display based on your vote today. It is frustrating to read that Michelle's intentions for Operation Safe Fargo are to focus on the need for expanded mental health and addiction recovery services in Fargo. Not a single point in this proposal mentions any actual ideas for how to implement these services. How can we trust that you are focused on expanding these services if you don't even want to put funds towards the deck anymore? If your goal is to help these people on the path to recovery, you would not have tried to end a needle exchange program. The only way we can ensure that Fargo is a safe space for everyone, including our unhoused neighbors, is to work on implementing Housing First as soon as possible. Your focus needs to be on finding housing solutions, not eradicating the only option for shelter that many of our community members rely on. Please choose compassion and do not approve Operation Safe Fargo. Thank you.
That's the end of our public speakers. Commission discussion. Commissioner Kolpak.
Yeah, thank you, and appreciate everyone's comments tonight. And to Rocky's point, I think we all can agree that we really are trying to find the solutions to address this most urgent and pressing issue for the city right now, in my opinion. I will tell you that there literally have been daily meetings on this topic for months now, and the staff are working collectively above what they normally do in a day's time to work on this issue in addition to their regular responsibilities and tasks. So I appreciate that. You know, the frustration is that it feels like actionable steps are not being taken, or the steps that have been taken maybe aren't working like we had hoped they would work. But the point of that resolution was to be flexible and nimble, and we are constantly evaluating what's working and what's not. But having said that, I can tell you that in the next couple of weeks, you will see real action come forward for consideration, and for really the first time from a group of community organizations who know this problem, who know how to work in this space, who are the experts when it comes to housing first and wraparound services, which is a really important part of this solution. Is we have to get people to the help. But first, housing first works because they have a roof over their head to start getting the help. And they're not worried about what their next night is going to be and where it's going to be. And yes, safety is central to this proposal. The proposal is, in my opinion, and I won't be supporting it tonight, but I will be supporting the actionable steps coming forward in a couple of weeks that address many of the concerns you've raised and ideas you've raised. That will come before this commission from the people who do this every day and are working on this collectively. And we have said this before, this is a regional problem. It's a national problem. It's not just a city of Fargo problem, and we do not have adequate resources to address this by ourselves. It will be public-private. It will be innovation. It will be going back to the legislature and asking for funds and new programming. Yes, North Dakota does have the resources to help us. It will be looking at a diversion center in the future. It will be looking at moving deck, and it will be focused on housing first. And so those actionable steps will be coming forward very soon. I hear the frustration. I'm frustrated, but I can tell you this clearly has been a priority, and finding solutions, I hope, is all of our priorities sitting up here. And I think it clearly is.
I will say, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Turnberg, I think Commissioner Strand is up next. Go ahead. Okay, Commissioner Turnberg.
We have great relationships with our legislators, but there's no guarantee that we're going to get money from the state. There isn't. We had a great meeting, and I know they wanted, but we're Fargo, and it doesn't mean the rest of the state is going to vote that way. It's cold now, and if we table this, if we vote it down, then we wait 2 more weeks. It's cold now. I think we've waited too long.
Commissioner Strand.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioner Turnberg, for this discussion. It's a really healthy discussion. In times of change, a few weeks ago, you were voting against a warming center. No, I'm sorry. I have the microphone. Sorry, I have the microphone. I do. It's my point.
Commissioner Turnberg.
I have the floor.
It's that mic at the time.
You voted against a warming center. All right, and we all know that this is a crisis. This isn't a new crisis. Several years ago, we were meeting and winter was coming, and frankly, I told the city folks in the river room, I said, hey, if we don't have protection for people that are freezing, I will open up the Civic Center and let them in myself. And I will still do that if that's what it takes, if there are people freezing to death out there. But, and I've also called the governor, frankly. Some people weren't happy. I was reaching out to the governor saying, this is the state border with Minnesota, and we have people from across the whole state there. And I do not want us to have headlines that say, because of our action or inaction, we had human beings freeze to death out there. So that's a priority. We all share that priority. I really do believe we do share it. But one of our requirements here at the dais, if we're electeds, is to follow our governance procedures. I remember one time Commissioner Preston and I advanced a topic about the Liquor Control Board. We were pretty quickly told that's not your authority. If you want to do something with the Liquor Control Board, go to the Liquor Control Board and introduce it in the lanes that exist for that action. This is my portfolio. You and I haven't even visited about this. It's my portfolio. We're required to communicate with people who carry portfolios to let them know, hey, I'm talking about this. I want you to know. I want your feedback. I don't even know. I know you've talked with somebody who has a Bible and a Constitution, and somebody from Palm Springs, but I don't know if you've met with our public health people and our harm reduction people. They're the ones providing these services.
Yes, I have.
Well, then take this to the table and shape it so that they can help you champion it.
What have you brought forward?
You could have your response. Just wait.
I'll give you lots of time to respond. All right. How many people in here know the name Clovia White Lightning? Okay, then there's another name we had of a woman that was frozen to death, and we have a photograph in the Fargo Forum. I think Dave Sampson took that historic award-winning photo of a frozen homeless person sleeping on the door of the bishop's residence, frozen to death. Clovia White Lightning showed up at a shelter in town in 1988 or 89 in March, was turned away at the door because they smelled alcohol on her breath. Next day, they found her frozen to death. If that's what we want, that's what we're going to get. If we're going to have, I appreciate these discussions about safety and public safety and involving law enforcement, but we have to include the people who know what they're talking about, which is the law enforcement and the public health people and the harm reduction people. We have to engage them and involve them and include them so that we can collectively shape something that's for the greater good for everybody. And I'm not going to stand for people being turned away because they're not the right people at the door for these shelters. You've raised some great topics. And thank you for that. It's a pressing issue. It's a downtown issue. It's a pressing issue. But I just can't fathom. We're down to, people say it's not working. It is working. It's still not working adequately. We still, last I heard, have 9 or 10 people on the river. We were over 40. We were over 40 people on the river. And we're up to 41 to 40 people, last I heard, in our warming center. That's a success. I know that they're not on cots, but at least they're inside and not freezing. We've grown our capacity in the Gladys Ray shelter to over 40 people, to my knowledge, per night. These programs are working. We need more help, and we need the state's help, and we need all of everybody to roll up their sleeves in this. But we can't be shooting from the hip and having actions that come out of the blue. This is not new stuff. And let's all work together. Let's sit down with our public health people and our law enforcement people and talk to them and go, what works? What do you need to do? And I have a feeling that they will tell you, well, this is what they need. And then let's breathe life into that.
Commissioner Turnberg.
Were you trying to just say there's 9 people down by the river?
That's my understanding right now. There are 9 people camping on the river regularly.
9.
That's what I'm told.
I would debate that, but
And they're, anyway, you have the microphone.
So
I'm just trying to bring some ideas forward. You don't have to agree with them all, but at least I'm bringing an idea. If I hadn't brought this, what would we be debating tonight? There wouldn't be a homeless question. There wouldn't be a shelter question. You brought porta potties, Commissioner Strand. Then let's bring some other ideas that we can vote on and implement. It's winter.
So I appreciate you bringing this forward. I think the safety of the community is top priority for many people. There's a lot of people in this room that think about that. What people have to understand, and just Mr. Strand references that our system has been working on this vigorously for the last 8 months. We have been working tirelessly to try to figure this out, and it's not easy. It's all over the country. It's all over the world. It's something that people are dealing with. We're working on balancing the needs of ensuring adequate shelter, winter warming, and housing options that are realized and maintained in the metro area throughout the winter and beyond. We did do a drone flyover of the camps along the river. It may be 9, John, I don't know what it is, but we've had our team go out there and say how many camps are left that we have to address. If we have to address that, we have to figure out monetarily how to address that. In partnership with the FM Coalition to End Homelessness and its membership, what is it, Chandler, 70 different organizations that are working on this? We are working on a homeless response system that have been developed at a consensus of short-term strategies required to prevent winter weather-related injury and death, as well as long-term plans to ensure adequate outflow for the homelessness into permanent housing. The development of this plan is well underway, and City Commission can expect an update of this plan next week, next Commission meeting, December 23rd, Fargo City Commission meeting. It is not necessary for the City of Fargo to directly intervene with Operation Safe Fargo when experts in the homeless response system are in the process of developing and implementing a thoughtful, comprehensive, evidence-based solution to the homeless in the region. And Commissioner Turnberg, you did not have all that data when you came up with this. I say that you put forth a proposal, which is good to do, because it brings it to the forefront that we need to discuss this. But we need to have our local team work on this and bring forth a plan that will work successfully. When we have a police station that's just over at Mercantile, why would we re-up our present police station? And if I ask the police chief, what do you want? Another police substation? He'd say in South Fargo, where it's a substation. But he would say he wants more officers. And that's a comment that we go to. And we now have a sales tax. Maybe we'll add more officers this year. There's other things we need to do. We think we have a viable plan that will make many people in the community pleased with where we're headed with this. It's embracing people with compassion and trying to understand what is best, and also dealing with the problem as we get from national experts. I have talked to our legislative partners, and I do see hope for us to get some money from our legislative partners. I have talked to the governor-elect, and he also is committed to help us with this problem. This is not something that we do alone. This is something that all the commissioners here, it's more than the city of Fargo. It's got to be our community that does this and takes care of this. It cannot be just us. And for those of you who are worried about being safe in our community, we want you safe in our community. When we have a parade downtown, I love seeing all the children, all the families, all the different people downtown. I see all the restaurants full. For our businesses downtown, we need to have a safe downtown. We have to have a downtown that we all enjoy and love. And Fargo is great. I just talked to another gentleman and brought another company to our city of Fargo because of all the amenities we have and what a great community we have. And we have to continue to look at how do we continue to make our community good and great. We as community members have to do that. So I will vote against this plan. I'll bring you a better plan in 2 weeks. And I think it's something we can support and be proud of because our teams worked on it very vigorously. So any other discussion? Roll call vote.
Turnberg. Aye. Pepcorn.
Aye.
Strand.
No.
Kolpak.
No.
Mahoney.
No.